Hi, so second one in the series. So we're now on to race day TZero. So what happens when you set your bike up and thinking about race day? There's a checklist. Definitely use that. Things that are important the morning of your event. So if you're traveling, etc., you may be in a hotel. Make sure that you can secure those early morning breakfasts that may be required, such that you've got whatever you've practiced as your race day breakfast and your nutrition is all sorted. Having everything set up the night before, so it's really straightforward to get to the event. If you're traveling by car, or if it's later in the afternoon, you're traveling by public transport, you've got everything organise well in advance so that there's no last minute panics on the morning that would be inside your control. There may be some panics, but things that you control, you want to get squared away. So what I'm going to do now is have a look at the kit that I've got in the bag and almost walk you through what would happen when you get to an event. So you're going to be coming with your kit. You're going to go first of all to some kind of registration area whereupon you'll be presenting your race license, your subscription, whatever code, whatever voucher, etc. you've got, print out so that they can check you off. You'll then be given your numbers, and this is before you then go into the transition area. So you'll go to one side, you'll put number on your helmet, number on your bike, and then you'll have a number for your race belt, which is one of the items in the kit list that you should organise before the event. Then you're going to walk your kit, your bike through into transition. You may well get a bike check. I'm going to do another video on a bike check whereupon a marshal, an umpire, will check that your bike is roadworthy. They will also likely check your helmet. So you'll be arriving into transition with your helmet on when you go to rack your bike. So imagine we're doing that. So coming into transition, and I found my transition spot. It's going to be mimicked by this bike stand. So I'm going to hook my bike up on the saddle here and take off my helmet on the bar end. So at this point, depending on your experience level, you maybe feel a little bit intimidated. It may be a little bit of information overload, particularly if it's your first event. The next piece of advice I've got for you is about helping you feel grounded in the event. So it's twofold. One is make sure the other people next to you interact in some way with. Say good morning, say hi, start to feel more comfortable with the environment. It will help you get settled. It also is quite useful in the competition. If you find that you've got a flat tire and someone's got a pump, you can borrow it if you don't have one. Um, Also, when people are coming in to transition under speed, they are going to be not necessarily more careful, but they're going to potentially be a bit more aware if they know people around them, that they're not going to necessarily come careering into your kit quite as much. Or if it's a little bit tight in transition, having a friendly relationship with those around you will help just make sure everyone's being equal with the setup space, and it makes the event more enjoyable. So the next piece of advice I've got for you is once your bike is there and your kit bag is now set up at your space, use this moment to go and walk the transition entry and exit points. So the first one I would then go and find would be the swim out bit, the swim assembly. So I'd then go and walk off to understand where the swimming start point is. Then I'm going to come back in from the swim in. So I'm just going to disappear off camera, mimicking what I've done. Okay, so actually the swim in point is on the other side. So this time round, I'm now starting to think about, okay, I'm coming in from here to where my bike is set up. I'd then be taking my bike and going with my bike this direction to go on the bike out. So I'm going to go and pretend that I'm going to do that, and I'm going to make one observation as well. So I've now gone and inspected the bike out part. Things I've looked for is how difficult is the run going to be? What does the condition look like underfoot? How twisting and turning is it? Is there anywhere I'm likely to slip if it's wet? So I've looked at all those terrain. The second most important thing is I've gone all the way up to the mount line, the area you get on your bike. I've walked beyond that and I've looked at the terrain, particularly the slope after the mount line. What I'm interested in is it slightly downhill? Is it flat or is it uphill? If it's an uphill, how quickly does that uphill happen after the mount line? Is there anything else to note on it in terms of bottlenecks or squeezes? I want to know that because the next thing I'm going to do is set my bike up with the correct gear such that when I get onto my bike and then start pedaling, the bike is already in the right gear. Okay, so I would now set up my bike to do the gear and do my shoes. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Okay, so with my bike now, I'm checking what gear is going to be suitable for me to get on the bike after the bike mount line. So I'm on the big chainring at the front and I'm part way down the cog at the back here. Knowing the course, I'm going to stick on the same chainring at the front, but I'm going to make it a little bit easier for me when I mount for the back. Okay, I'm happy with that. It gives me a little bit of wriggle room so that get on the bike, if there's any problems, I've got a couple of gears left easier, but I've also got the ability to step up the gears. So now I'm going to stick my shoes on. Sometimes this is easier with the bike actually on the deck. So into my bag, grab my shoes. I'll jump around this side and do this one first. Requires a little bit of force, so I'll see if I can get them in without. That's one. Two. Okay, so the next thing from the list, rubber bands. So I'm now going to band my shoes. Now this is an assortment of various size rubber bands. Do not, you can see these, do not go for these fat ones. You're likely to damage something on your bike. So that guy, ideal. What I'm going to do is thread, I'll zoom in on this once it's set up, thread the elastic band through the rear heel loop and then simply loop it over the top of the front derailleur. Let me move this guy around so you can see, hopefully, that there. And then on the back one, do similar. I'm going to put elastic band through the loop. And put on there. And actually you'll have heard, that's why I need to be a little bit careful with some of the elastic bands. These are very old. This one has managed just to snap, so taking a spare from the box. Put this through again. I think they're slightly perished, these elastic bands. So that is my shoes set up on both sides with the elastics hooked on. Good. Okay. So that's that set up. Just double check. So in my shoes, I'll do a zoom in on this later. These are tri-specific shoes. There is a point on the Velcro where I know that the Velcro is going to stay open for me to put my feet into it. So nice and wide. I don't need it. You can, if you wish, stick a bit of talcum powder in there. So I'm reasonably happy. The gears are done. The shoes are on. The helmet's on. Last thing that I'm going to do for the bike setup. So I'm going to take my race belt. So the race belt would have the number on it. Got some old numbers, I haven't simulated it. So I know that I put my helmet on before I put my race number on. So that's my setup. I'm quite confident of that as well, that if it's windy or if someone bangs into the front wheel of my bike, that neither my race belt nor my helmet are going to come off. It's reasonably sturdy. So my bike is now set up, happy with all of that. I'm now again going to go and walk out and have a look at the run, and coming in from the bike in, walking out to the run out. So I've just done my mocked up, looking for where the bike in and the dismount line is. Observed in advance of it how straight the road is. I would also do a quick recce on the map, or even as part of the warm-up, go for a jog and look at the kilometre or so before the bike dismount line. Ideally, you are taking your feet out of your shoes to do the dismount at a point where you're going slightly downhill, or a point where you're not having to pedal aggressively, so not up a hill. It can be on a flat, it can be going into a bend, for example, where you're going to have to put the brakes on, and then you cycle the remaining part up to the dismount line with your feet on top of your shoes. The reason to do it super early is in those final stages, there'll be a lot of people who have left taking their feet out of their shoes to the last minute. They are likely to be wiggling on the road. They may well be putting on the brakes. You want to be completely in control at that point of your speed and know nothing else but observing what's going on with your competitors and where that dismount line is, so you can maximize your speed into that dismount line, come off safely, have nothing else left to do apart from get off your bike and run into transition. So that's the reason to do a bit of a reconnaissance of the dismount line. I also know coming in going after I've come in for the dropping my bike off, where the run out point is. So last thing I'm going to do is set up my shoes for the transition for the run. So you'll see I've just set my shoes up down here, and broadly, this is it. So, oh, lift the camera up a little bit. There we go. I think that's me. So I'll now go into the bag and pull out an extra couple of things that I brought with us. So I'm now set up. I know that when I come in to do my run, all I'm going to do is drop my bike off, pick up my running shoes, slip them on, and you'll see they've got elasticated laces. Slip them on and disappear off, going that way out. So what else have I got in this bag that you might be interested in? Heart rate strap that I'd be putting on. We've got some talcum powder. Quite often you'll want talcum powder the inside of your running shoes. Just helps if your feet are a little bit damp still. And I've got a towel just in case it's very, very gritty when I come out of the water. I can wipe off some of the grit from my feet. It's actually from a triathlon. It was given as a freebie, Bala Triathlon in Wales. So I can put that down, stick my shoes on top of it. Other things I've got in here, got some sun cream and a head torch that you might require if it's a bit of an early start. And last thing I've got is my swim kit. So I'm now all set up, got my wetsuit and things here. I can pull this out, put it down, and then I'm happy to go and put my my kit bag away. Don't have to do it before. So here's my wetsuit. Get that over my bike. Got my goggles. Got both sunny weather reflective goggles and foggy, cloudy, clear goggles, and a spare hat. Just depends on the event. Normally they'll give you a hat. And my lube. So that's it. Hopefully this has been useful as the setup. Now we'll have a look at the specific transitions themselves. T1, where the good news is all these things you've done them before. So T1, you're going to take off a wetsuit, you're going to take your bike, run with it to your mount line and mount the bike. Easy. T2, you're going to come in, dismount the bike, put it up in the rack, take off your biking kit, put on your running kit, go off your run. Again, nice and simple. The simpler you can make it, the more of a competitive advantage you will have in an event, and the less likelihood of confusion or issues. So that was set up on TZero. Hopefully this is useful. I'll then go into T1. Right.